Everybody, I'm here with Dr. Zach Simpkins, a personal friend over many years, and he is also in the healthcare world alongside us. He keeps people upright, you guys. Let me give him a quick intro, and then he can correct me on everything I'm going to mess up. But Dr. Zach has been in my life in AFS's world for over a decade now, and we've had a great referral relationship. He's a chiropractor by training, and he has his is it a clinic?
Yeah.
What do you call it? The clinic?
Practice clinic.
Practice.
Space.
Space.
Yeah.
He does good work, but it's on the north side of Ann Arbor. It's called Foundation Chiropractic. So much trust with Dr. Zach. I'm actually really happy that he's on this podcast because we are going to talk about that world, the chiropractic world, which I do feel is very misunderstood in general pop for lots of reasons.
Completely agree.
But we're going to unpack that. Dr. Zach referred tons of members to him. I've seen him personally. It's why I'm actually upright right now over the years. And I don't know where I'd be without you, dude. I text him every now and again, like, can you fix me? And he does.
You'd be on the ground. No, I'm kidding. Also, I'd like to point out great posture right now. You're looking sharp.
Do I look great?
You look sharp.
Great. I practiced.
The video is serving you well.
Good.
Thanks for having me on, man. It's been a blast.
Yeah.
I'm generally kind of an off the cuff kind of person, and when you gave me like this outline of it,
How'd that land with you?
I was great. It was perfect. It was like it gave me like boundaries and groundwork, and I was like, oh my god. So I've already done this interview in my head poorly, so I'm really looking forward to doing it with you as well.
Great. All that stuff just throw out the window.
Yeah, just gone.
Right.
Yeah,
It's all gone.
Yeah, gone.
Yeah. I guess, dude. So let's start with you setting some groundwork for the viewer. So people that are watching and listening to this, these are current members, and these are also people that are kind of on the fence of going into a health program, whether that's health and fitness like what we do, whether it's going to a physical therapist or the work that you do. They are here to like absorb and learn info. So tell us, who is Dr. Zach Simpkins?
Yeah.
What is Foundation? How'd you get in that field? Give us the
been
origin story.
We actually celebrate 10 years. I'm celebrating poorly, but I'm celebrating 10 years in the office next week sometime.
10 years?
Yeah, which has been a blast. So we're little office in the north side of Ann Arbor. It's came straight out of school and took a shot. When I was an ex-rugby player. I was an ex-professional rugby player for a long time. And something, when I was playing in Australia, somebody, one of this guy's named Jacko. The way they do nicknames in Australia
Sounds
is
like
your name plus an O. So I was Zacko. Brilliant.
Keeping that
Aussies, sharp. So shout out to all our Aussie viewers. So the Jacko I worked for at the time was like, mate, you just got to back yourself. You've got to take a shot kind of thing. And it was, I had all the speed I needed and I had all the talent I needed, but like the confidence in that. And that was 2005, I guess.
Okay.
And that stuck with me, 20 years later. So straight out of school, I knew that I had something that I really wanted to share with the world and share with the community, and certainly student loans were part of it. But have you heard of those student loans?
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah,
I'm trying
familiar.
to keep those in the back burner. Don't pay attention to those.
And then with the help of my wife, and who had been in love with since I was 12 years old.
You guys knew each other when you were 12?
12. I had a crush on her when I was 12. She was 11. She likes to point that out. She was 8 months younger than me. I don't know. It's kind of petty, but I'm into it. So we've been together since I actually went to Australia.
Really?
And then it's like my origin story in chiropractic is not really it's not really like a burning bush moment. I wish it was more like inspiring than that. It really was. I did undergrad, much like you did, like exercise science and biomechanics. Enjoyed the heck out of it, and I wanted to just keep doing better. So my girlfriend, now my wife at the time, didn't make a bad decision. So I looked at med school and PT school and chiro school, and I got my best offer to play rugby on scholarship in chiro school. And I had a couple of teammates that were great chiros with like a physical therapy minded background, and from that it just kind of grew into what it is today. Really a deep desire to not embarrass my wife for making a bad decision marrying me.
Yes.
Right. So
I love it. That's a great. But what about chiropractic drew you into that field?
Yeah. As an athlete, as an ex-athlete, now, it was always like optimization. It was like hadn't experienced injuries that much. It was
You had not?
had not really. No,
Okay.
I was fast, so I just just run around people.
Yes.
And my first love is like what you guys do here. It's the personal training, the prehab kind of stuff. That's where I bore all of this out. That's probably where I grow a bulk of my physical therapy education. I worked in a PT office. I passed the PT boards. I did all that kind of stuff to get the certifications. But like that's what I'm deeply interested in. And then I just went a degree further, an actual degree further, and got my doctorate down in Life University, and that was which sounds like a fake place. I promise it's not.
It's real.
It's a real place. It's a real place. It's the world's largest chiropractic college, and for 2 of the 4 years I was there, the best rugby team in the country.
Unreal.
So that was fun. Yeah, won a couple 90s out there. But it became this like. I'm not anti-drug and I'm not anti-surgery. I think that stuff is great, and I'm glad it exists and all that. But I think that we contain multitudes within us, and we're able to, moving all the existing pieces around, like create the best version of ourselves.
Yes.
And that often involves a team. That always involves external forces.
Yeah.
Whether it's as simple as protein or as specialized as a personal trainer or a doctor or somebody. I think that people contain all the necessary ingredients to fix themselves. It's just about moving those pieces around.
You're right. And we talk a ton about having a multidisciplinary team or a support team.
Yeah.
Because they are complementary.
Yeah.
I mean, we have experienced that tremendously.
Oh, yeah.
And to your point about that PT background, your passion for that piece, you can totally see it. If you guys go to the clinic, it's there. Like, I mean, my experience with chiropractic is not extensive, but I've gone to a handful, and it is snap, crackle, pop, and I'll see you again. There's
see you in 2 hours.
I'll see you in 2 hours. And there's no like, hey, here's the stuff you should be doing outside of here. There's no on-site like, hey, yeah, we'll do this adjustment, but here's the corrective work. Let me show you how to do it. It feels more like physical therapy.
It's a very good blend of that.
Yes, what you guys do.
I think, and this is a hot take, but I think the snap, crackle, pop is fine. But like, it's borderline unethical to send somebody out there feeling better but not being better. Like, I know better. That's the problem. And now you know better, but most people don't know better. Most people, they show up and my back hurts, and this guy's the back guy. So I guess he says I got to come back 3 times a week for the rest of my life. I guess I got to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that there aren't cases out there that require a more hands-on approach, but like, give people the tools they need to succeed. Like, that's not a complicated thing. And again, it's worked for us, and I'm blessed in that I don't need the same 50 patients coming in every day. I want you to. I do this thing called the minimum effective. I used to work in a pharmacy.
Oh, there we go,
dude.
You're a jack of all trades.
I'm very.
You're like a doctor.
I worked for a very long time. I worked at a compounding pharmacy when I was 16 to 20, and there was this pharmacological term that is the minimum effective dose. And I think of what we do in our office as the minimum effective dose. Like, usually you come, like when you came, HIPAA violation. If someone,
I give consent.
perhaps that looks like you, came in with a blown out back several times, we got to put the fire out.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's like, here's the tools you need to succeed on your own.
Yeah.
And I'll see you semi-regularly. But
Right.
same way your dentist tells you you brush and floss, you see that person twice a year, like, it's a good relationship. They give you a deep clean you can't get anywhere else, and you do the work on your own, and this is a fruitful, long relationship that doesn't just, it's not just one-sided where you're throwing money at me and I'm holding all the solutions. Yeah. I want to empower the person to actually do what they got to do. And there's so much stuff that you can do in the acute phase, and then in the chronic phase where somebody's like, they're moving forward, they're doing pretty well. You guys take over. And it's like, that's why we send people right back to you, or at least keep people. I was thinking about this earlier. One of my favorite things is like, hey, and you send me an email like, hey, I'm talking with Dave, and Dave's made up.
No offense, Dave.
Dave, you're doing great. Dave's doing. He's got a shoulder thing. He's coming in. We're gonna send him into your office. Let me know how you want to modify it. And I'm like, great, Kemp. Don't do this. Please do this. Don't do this. Bop, bop, bop. and I'll handle my end, you handle your end. We collaborate. It's a shared information. Like I don't understand how that's not the standard.
That should be the case.
In my opinion, what we do, what you do, and what we do is like it's not exceptional. It should be the standard, and yet everyone below us just doesn't do that stuff.
Yeah,
I can't imagine a world where you just send somebody over and you don't communicate.
I agree, and I'd like to believe that people are leaning in that direction more, just given the state of everybody's health. There needs to be more collaboration on the preventative side of things versus reactive care. But I think what's important is to like give people a sense of, okay, chiropractic work, what Dr. Zach does.
Yeah.
When is it appropriate to seek out a chiropractor? And then follow-up question, what is it that's different that you will experience at Foundation versus maybe people's preconceived notions around chiropractic in general?
And I'll answer the questions in reverse order.
Okay.
For fun.
Shocker.
No reason. I'm very empathetic when people are like, I actually had a guy come in yesterday. I'm off today, but I had a guy come in yesterday who said, I ran into an old buddy who said you need to go see my chiropractor. And I've been treating this guy for once a month for years, and he's gone through a lot, but he does his work really well. And the guy said, I've never gone to a chiropractor. I'm scared of you guys, but my friend wouldn't shut up about you. And that, I mean, the joy of my professional life, right? Right. It was such an honor-filled moment that I wanted to respect that. But this guy did not have an inaccurate representation of half my profession. I made that number up, but there is a rack 'em and crack 'em kind of side to chiropractic where you show up, they put you on the table, they move. There's a technique called the flying 7 where it's one pop this way, a couple in the neck, couple in the mid back, in and out. The national average for chiropractic appointments is 114 seconds.
Really? It's that quick?
Just a shade under 2 minutes.
Wow.
And some people get better, some people stay the same, some people get worse. And I don't have an interest in that at all. So I run closer to a boutique practice where my initial exam is an hour. I'm not putting I want to do a good job. I have no interest in the high volume stuff. I want to get to know you, and I want to know what makes you tick, and I want to understand your injury profile and your neuromusculoskeletal system and your barriers to entry. And it's neurological. It's toes to nose.
Let me pause real quick. I just want to make sure I understand.
Yeah.
Typically, what you're saying is if somebody is in pain, they will go to a number of chiropractors where there is no initial assessment. It is, okay, you're in pain, great, let's get on the table, let's do the flying 7.
Yeah, flying 7. Yeah.
So there's no assessment.
Nope. It's anything from no blood pressure, no x-rays, no neurological tests, so you don't really know what you're getting.
Okay. Noted.
Yep. It's a shame because it's a profession I love, and I think we can do a lot of really good things, but you have to get to know the person. You have to know you have to customize the solution to them. So I guess juxtaposition against that, that's what we do is we look at people's injury profile, because a lot of times it's an ankle causing a knee, or it's a knee causing a back, or it's a neck causing a shoulder. We are not just where our pain is. We're a whole human being. I'm not treating bones. I'm treating humans. And because of that, allows me to spend an hour with people the way a doctor should, understanding that profile. So we take people through FMS and squat test and all this X-rays and neurological tests.
Explain FMS.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the functional movement screen. For our athletic population or people that are budding athletes, you take them through an overhead squat test, and it finds you basically raise your hands over your head, you squat down, and you see which part of the joint or the biomechanical sling.
You're looking for movement quality or dysfunction or something to give you an insight.
Absolutely. And then you can target an exam towards that, and then you can ask better questions. You can get to know people that maybe they didn't realize that their ankle injury from 10 years ago was still an issue. They just had rotated their foot out. when you rotate your foot out in external rotation, you rotate the femur head in. When you rotate the femur head in, you're now destabilizing the pelvis, and that causes a back problem. And it's not a big logical leap. There's reams of research on this stuff. You just have to take the time to look for it.
Yeah.
So we built in. I hired another guy a little while ago, about a year and a half ago, Dr. Tyler Beck. Shout out. But he's worked in other people's clinics before, and this is the first one he said, like, we actually like take your time with somebody and get to know the person and know more about them than just what hurts. So that's I know that's a philosophical approach more than it's a tactical approach, but the idiosyncratic side of stuff is I don't want to guess with your spine. I want to know.
Yeah.
So we know.
Well, I feel like that's how it should be. Like, I mean, philosophical or not, for one to fully understand what the system is that they're working with, there has to be some kind of initial finding piece.
Right.
The same thing with our industry, dude. Like, again, I've worked in many personal training environments, and when somebody comes in with an outcome or a goal, there was no assessment. It was okay, you want to change your body composition, you got back pain? Great. Let's go squat. Right. Like, there's no assessment. Right. There's nothing.
It's devoid from the assessment from the outcome.
Yes, it's a shotgun approach, which, that's part of the distrust that we experience too in our industry.
How do you overcome that? How does that something that tailored approaches, customized programs, stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is the professional being more qualified. So with our industry, right, you have personal trainers that have all kinds of varying levels of
anything
certification.
from ACE to CSCS to
There's no, like, with your degree, right?
Yeah,
it was board certified, like, it was across the board.
Right. You don't get to do this and not go to your chiropractic school.
You got to go to chiropractic. You take the same test.
You got to have a doctorate, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like it's all the same test, same standard within the industry. With us, it's not. There's all kinds of organizations where it's a weekend or it's a 4-year degree program. Like, that's the thing. There's no standard. So the provider, the exercise provider, needs to have a standard.
Yeah.
And they need to have a body that, like, governs the basic education. That's number one. And then I think there needs to be, like, more practices like yours and like what we're doing, where it's like, here's how we approach a client or a patient or a member. This is the first thing we do, and it's identifying what the needs are. And then once you know the needs, then you can prescribe appropriately.
Do you think there's a lack of appetite from your industry? I do think my industry is a little bit born out of necessity, maybe. These guys are $250,000 in debt. They come into school. They went to school to be a doctor, and they have no idea how to run a business. I don't know. I mean, is it a similar thing where guys I know how to train, but I don't know. I know how to train a body like mine. I don't know how to train yours.
I think so. I think that's part of it. I also think there is trepidation around conforming to a standard that might force people to raise their level of education or effort, because, hey, I've got X certification.
Right.
I got the cert. Now let me go train the people. Wait, now you're telling me I have to go through this, jump through these hoops and this process? I'm not into that.
But I love that stuff. The endless pursuit of education. I just did a continuing ed a couple weekends ago. I had 4 hours on the jaw and like TMJ pain, and I was like fascinated.
Right.
I was like, it felt good. I was like, I'd kind of have to figure this out on my own. And 80% of what the guy was saying, I was already doing, so I felt validated. But the 20% that I was wrong, I didn't feel threatened by. Or embarrassed. I was like, great. How presumptuous is it that we think we have the sum of human knowledge when you walk out of school? Like, the passion for continuing education, formal or informal, is what makes us practitioners.
I agree.
Right?
I agree with you. But I also think too.
But we're on the podcast together, right?
So we're talking about this.
We gotta agree with it.
I think if we institute some kind of system for emerging health professionals to get into, because I have to admit, people that are in our field, they are very passionate about the thing that they're studying and learning.
Yes. Yeah.
So now you insert, okay, here's the whole roadmap to be like a fully vetted, high caliber practitioner.
Yeah.
They're going to eat that up. It's the ones that have been in the industry for 20 years that are going to have to relearn.
Yeah, and some people I remember when the physical therapy went from undergrad to a master's and a master's to a doctorate.
Yes.
And it was like a 20, 25 year process. And I was working at a PT office when they were transitioning. Some of the master's guys got kind of out. They were still Bill, and they had 20 years experience, but there was some pushback, and there was some maybe disinterest in the new kid coming out with this shiny doctorate. He doesn't know what I know. And sure, but I mean, at some point you have to trim some fat. You have to.
You gotta elevate the standard.
Yeah, exactly. Elevate the standard. It's a better way to put it. It's a positive way. For me, I would like to see, the bottom 10% of everything get cut. Like the chiropractors on TikTok that are shattering your spine for likes.
What is it with the chiropractor? I feel like that's a vibe. There's so many there's like chiropractic ASMR going.
I don't.
What?
Oh my god.
That's an opportunity you're missing.
Yeah, no, I'm blowing it. Yeah, I should be doing it shirtless too. I think that's the move.
What's going on?
I've never seen an ugly person on a TikTok video, a chiropractic video. There's a formula there.
There is.
I think there is part of the question you asked 2 hours ago about the demystification. Yes. You're gonna have to edit, Nicholas.
Yeah. Don't worry, we got Nick edited.
Yeah, let's get to work. Get him a coffee. The idea of no one really knows what it is. It's kind of like this dark art thing.
Chiropractics in general.
Yeah, chiropractic in general. It's applied biomechanics. It's really it's half of your name. It's biomechanics to find if something moves too much, tighten it up, stabilize it. In the mobility stability spectrum, every joint has an acceptable range, and every person has an acceptable range in there. And inside that optimal structure is where you develop optimal functioning, whether it's neuromuscular, skeletal. You can't really suss out if you tear a muscle. That muscle both has a neurological component and an attachment to a bone. So you don't just tear a muscle. You have a bone problem and a nerve problem. If you sever a nerve, then you're in big trouble with all three of them. If you break a bone, the muscle doesn't function. There is not just a bone thing or just a nerve thing or just a muscle thing. It's all three of them. And my world, my little hunk of in the healthcare world, it's this little sliver. My little world completely revolves around the maintenance, prevention, and management of the neuromusculoskeletal system. That's not a controversial hot take. That's not like if you say that and someone hops in your comment section like, oh, this is crazy. It's not a crazy thing to say. Yeah. But if I say things like there's a common thing in chiropractic, like you just got to release the hidden impulse so the body, can live free of interference. What does that mean? It doesn't. Yeah, what does it mean?
What does that? You're right.
So then you're left with TikTok videos where you're a guy shirtless adjusting somebody in a bathing suit, shattering their neck, and they get up and they feel better. And it's at least interesting. It grabs your attention. Uh-huh. The adjustment itself, not that controversial.
Yes.
DOs do it. Physical therapists have some form of manipulation. People have been doing it for thousands of years. It's not a. Yeah. As long as you're not, the strap around the neck, pull them as hard as you can. That thing's crazy. I would like to say that. That's great. Sue me.
Disclose that.
Sue me. I don't care.
So all right. So members, here, right?
Yeah.
It's not 20 and 30-year-olds doing CrossFit. It's people that have, they're getting into their 50s, 60s, 70s. They have aches and pains. When did they seek out someone like you?
Man, I love the idea of prevention. Doesn't really happen. I'm just gonna say that. Straight out of school, everyone thinks I'm gonna go change the world, and we're gonna get dozens of people that line up every day that just say I have no problems and I'm just double checking. It's not really the thing.
That doesn't happen.
That's not really the thing.
No.
There's a I can't remember, Mark Swerdlick, I think he said something like, there's 4 things that happen. People are motivated by 4: pain in the now, pleasure in the now, pain in the future, pleasure in the future. And it's this highly reductionist view of the human psyche, but it's not totally inaccurate. Most people wait until something hurts, and that's okay. Most people wait until they can't golf anymore, or they can't sit in a car for more than an hour, and something is ultimately activity aversion where something's been taken from them. And I would be thrilled if people just rolled up, got a full evaluation. January 1, we set it would be thrilling, but most of the time, it's women tend to be prospective thinkers, men tend to be retrospective. I know it's an overgeneralization, but like what I've read in the research, and I'm happy to be wrong, but men tend to look in the rear view and they wait a little bit too long, where women, they live longer. And that's not a controversial take there.
Yep.
They tend to live longer because they are like looking around the corner. So when their knee starts to hurt a little bit, or they're out, they're swinging the golf club and they feel a little twinge, they usually pursue care, and that's a great time to do it.
So you're saying, hey, you don't have to be in debilitating pain before you reach out to a chiropractor.
Preferably not.
Preferably not. You're saying you rethink it as like a preventative part of your care plan.
It would be thrilling, and I'm willing to take people who come crawling in.
and for those people,
for the record, because you're not going to change. Again, maybe this is a reductionist view of my community and my life, but I don't think you want to browbeat people of like with our vision of what health is, and there's no definition of health that describes symptoms. It's all about optimization and maximizing stuff like that. But we live in a society that hopefully, like you said, is shifting towards being preventative. And I am thrilled to be that for people. But it usually starts with, I can't turn my head right anymore, or my shoulder's just not what it used to be. And then we get to be preventative with other injuries. We get to find like, okay, the shoulder and the neck are related. Let's talk a little bit more about your hips. Your hips don't rotate as well as they should. And in a couple of years, that leads to things like arthritis. Whereas arthritis only hurts after it fully manifests. After it only shows up on x-ray when it's 30% degraded. So by the time I can see it, it's already a problem. And you can make people better, you can improve their functionality, you can increase their viability, but that arthritis stays there. And it's not a death notice, but I would love it if at the first sign of stuff, of like we're talking, it's been bothering me for a couple weeks, it's good enough. If it tweaks for 30 minutes, you're fine.
Yeah.
If it's a couple weeks, it's not going away. You're starting to withdraw from the things that make you happy in the life that, your 40s, 50s, and 60s. You're supposed to be about pursuing your passions.
Yes.
It's that you've worked your whole life to get to a point where you can take the trip. You can, you have your golf league with your buddies. You want to work out, and you're actually getting stronger instead of weaker when everyone else is going behind you. And all it takes is a bad ankle. All it takes is a blown disc, and all it takes is that, and we just get knocked off the peg.
Totally.
So first couple weeks of something, if you're not very sure of what it is, that's my sweet spot.
Here's a follow-up question that I think people have a lot of confusion around.
Yeah.
Okay, my ankle's been bothering me for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I need to go see somebody. Physical therapist or chiropractor? How do you guide somebody through that determination?
I love, again, I was halfway between PT and chiro school, right? And
your model's unique because it is like a hybrid of both.
It is absolutely hybrid.
But keep going.
I also don't think it's that hard of a needle to thread. I think, again, I think what I'm doing is what is absolutely necessary for the patient. Because if I believe that the neuromusculoskeletal system exists in that unique synchronous cohort, then you can't suss one out. Post-surgically, I'm not your guy. I tell you that.
Post-surgery, somebody has a hip replaced.
Yeah, you replace your hip. There is nobody better in the world at getting you from 0 to 60, 0 to 80% than a physical therapist. You replace your knee, you call a PT. That is. I will treat you after, or I will treat around that issue. We help co-manage with people going through spinal surgery. I have a patient right now who's getting her hip replaced. She's the sweetest lady in the world, but she's like, it's beyond me, right? We've done what we can to push her this far. And the physical therapy is going to do an infinitely better job than I could at getting her from, like I said, 0 to 60, 0 to 80%. If she wants to pursue something more than that, and she will because she's a maniac, then we're going to continue to make sure that the other leg is as best as it can be. Maybe she avoids the second one, or above and below the replaced joint, and being able to let the physical therapist do their job, which I have the utmost respect for him. there's a difference in philosophy, and again, I don't want to speak for PT, but there's a difference in philosophy about what the relationship with like somebody like me or Tyler would be in my office versus a physical therapist. And it's a little more mechanistic because they do have to play. They're not a portal of entry doctor in Michigan, so they are. You have to go to your primary care physician.
That's right.
Sends a referral over there, and then the PT will send updates back and forth. Now, I love that collaboration. I have no problem with that, but you're not allowed to treat the whole person. You have to treat like the script is for a hip. You write the script for the hip is good to go, get out of here. Somebody comes in with a hip problem and a neck problem, great. That's attached to one human. I'm treating a human. Mm-hmm. I tend to have a continued relationship with people on their terms, on their schedule, and that kind of stuff. But there is, sorry, I know it's a long answer.
No, you're good.
Access is one of those things that I did not realize was going to be so valuable. Having access to a guy who knows his injury profile, that we'll pick up the phone and talk to you. Most of the time, my patient who rolls their ankle doesn't have to wait 2 weeks to go to their PCP and then wait 2 weeks to go to PT, then get evaluated. They just roll right in. Yeah. And I go, hey, let's look at this. If you need an MRI, I'll send it. If you need an X-ray, I'll do it. If you need some exercises and some adjustments, great. Yeah. And you can get that thing fixed there. It's closer to like an accessible concierge than it is anything else. And while I love that I exist in that space, it wasn't the plan. It's just the plan wasn't to be, doctor to the stars or only the incredibly wealthy. Mm-hmm. But I find that there are people that want the answers quickly, and they want continuing healthcare, and they want to do the preventative kind of stuff because little bumps and bruises are going to come along the way. Yeah. So I guess that my long answer is post-surgically, don't call me. Yeah. I'm happy to support around that injury. In physical therapy, again, like you said earlier, there's some incredible ones, and then there's some ones that are kind of on autopilot, that are kind of doing the cookie cutter approach, just hit the McGill Big Three and send you on your way. Mm-hmm. So we try to take a very customized concierge, continuous involvement approach.
Yeah, you see what I hear you saying is, one, the time delay to get care is, for the most part, less. You can have a quicker connection point with the provider, versus going through the system. Mm-hmm. And I also, we have members, that they'll go through physical therapy for the hip for that duration. And then something comes up week 6, it's their shoulder. Well, they got to wait through until they finish the hip thing to get to the shoulder. And then
they're out of visits, right?
And then they're out of visits.
Right.
Yeah. But what you're saying is, hey, you get this hip thing. Let's look at the whole system and see there could be something in your shoulder that's causing the hip or whatever.
Yeah.
Got it.
So there is it's a robustness to it that I'm not. I just have the way it's written. We have a wide license. So
yes.
I can treat any dysfunction that I can find justifiable.
And because of your background, Foundation takes a strong approach to the rehab side of things. Like it's almost like strength conditioning.
It's baby strength and conditioning.
When I was working with you guys, it was so much less about the adjustments and more about the 6 strength movements and stretching movements I had to do daily. And that was a heavy
You
emphasis.
had to do it like you were addicted to them.
Like
I think that was the line.
Yeah,
I remember. Get addicted.
Yes, and I was reluctantly addicted to do my wall slides.
Yeah,
man. But there was more accountability there. I remember coming in and you guys were more adamant about, hey, like almost coaching, like, hey, how did the exercise go? How many times you do it? What got in the way? There was more of this coaching relationship. I remember.
I think that there is. I agree, and that I've been coaching the University of Michigan assistant coach. Why do I keep looking at the camera?
They're watching.
I'm so nervous. This is live, right? I think the doctor-patient relationship is up here, and we try to bring it down here. Like, there's no mystery who's in charge of my office. Like, one of us is a doctor, right? That says, fine, you asked me for help, but like, I don't think that you get the results in the behavior modification and the intimacy of the relationship by putting yourself on a pedestal and removing yourself from all accountability. I want you to tell me, like, man, 4 of those exercises were great. 2 of them, I didn't really feel. or they were too much. Like I am genuinely interested in teaching a man to fish. Like the rehab is what's going to keep you healthy far longer than. Like I said, I never adjust people more than twice a week, and that's acute back pain. That's chronic. Like anything more than that, and it's just a money grab. So I'm going to teach you how to fish, and the rehab stuff is something I'm deeply passionate about. It's always body weight. It's always banded stuff. It's very accessible things. I find most people that are in that stage. Well, I mean, obviously most people don't have access to an AFS, but they could.
There's the plug.
Yeah, book it.
Download here.
Just to put it across my face.
Link here.
Just a link right there. But I think a lot of people don't know where to go in those situations. So it becomes, they float the mainstream and they just go, well, I'm in pain, so I go to urgent care. And then when I go to urgent care, they stabilize and give me some muscle relaxers and maybe a fistful of opioids. I don't know. And then they go to the PCP. The PCP is brilliant, but they're not really a neuromusculoskeletal cat, so they're not really sure where to land on that. So we'll maybe go to PT. And they just go through this like
shotgun approach in the dark.
Yeah, and they don't have like a guy, like a place where they go, okay, this is my person. I can tell you when we kick it upstairs, but the showing someone how to do the rehab and taking them through that and progressing it and bringing in other partners and showing you like, hey, you've been doing your hip thrust with a band at home for 6 weeks now. At some point, you've reached your top end effectiveness. Like you needed a barbell on that thing. And since I'm not going to hold your hand or babysit you because you're a grown person, why don't you shell out a couple $100 to somebody who can watch you with eagle-like precision and make sure that you're hip thrusting correctly. And that should be in line with the rest of your goals. It's, again, not... if I wrote a book, it'd be like 4 pages. It'd be like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on. Do your stuff.
Common sense.
Do your work.
Yeah.
And I hold people accountable. And there's so many people that continue to come into our office. And I know I'm taking the circuitous route here, but some people come in our office for that accountability. Like I'm asking them how their protein's coming along. I'm asking them like, hey, cut back and drink a little bit. And like, I forgot I told you I was drinking too much, or something like that, right? That it is an authority, but not an authoritarian approach. It's a partnership and it's a coaching kind of thing where if people give me permission to be a part of their lives, then I'm going to take that responsibility seriously, and I'm going to hold their ass to the flame a little bit, hold them accountable for the goals that they said they wanted to do.
Yeah, it's interesting when that relationship is built because it does start with, hey, I have this physical health goal. Can you help me get there?
Yeah.
And then they get to know you. And it's the same with us. Hey, I have to build muscle tissue or fix my knee pain. Can you help me get there? But yet then to your point, they let you in their lives, in their inner circle. And now you're involved in their whole life. Their whole life, they share. You become more of a therapist almost, or like a friend to confide in about all the things they're working through. And not saying like we're therapists or anything.
Wildly underqualified.
but having genuine, deep conversations with other humans, that in itself is healing and can effectuate change.
Absolutely agree. And there's no part of that relationship you can abdicate. It's a moral failing on the behalf of a practitioner to remove the soul of the person or the psyche of the person from the body. And we have a very mechanistic way of viewing pathology or disease in this country, and I'm sure it's other countries too. I just live here, but you're not a busted knee, you're not even a broken back. I treat people's broken back. I had 3 women in the last 2 weeks who had no idea they're just back hurt, who have shattered their spine. 2 of them during childbirth, and then one of them like slipped on a soccer ball, which is a bummer. And that diminished their sense of self, their sense of viability. Excuse me. And luckily, I've been doing this long enough, and they let me have a relationship with them. And one of them was a friend before she came in, so it's like I've already had that relationship. Of being like, you are going to be okay. This will not affect your ability to live a full active life. This is not a failing of you. This is not something that you should feel responsible for. we are going to fix it, and it's going to be a lot of work we're going to do in there. But I'm not treating a broken back. I'm treating a human being with a broken back, and the work is going to be done over weeks and months, and we know it's going to hurt, and we know it's going to be a long process. You don't get to shatter. I shattered my spine twice. I deserved it both times. But it's the darkness that you experience when you're removed from your viability. That's what you treat immediately. And again, I'm underqualified to be a therapist, but I'm pretty well qualified to be a friend or to be to
being.
listen.
Yeah.
You've gone to like clients' weddings. You've gone to like when you had a baby or when you guys were going through the COVID thing. Like people, this is rare, by the way. Like that.
It's unfortunate.
It's the exceptional community that you've created here is really born out of your desire to care. It's the X's and O's of what we do can be done by a lot of people. The actual squat, bench, deadlift kind of thing, that's been reproduced a million times over. And I'm confident there's a better chiropractor in the world than me. I'm aware of that. But nobody's going to try harder, and no one's going to care more, and no one's going to dig deeper. And that's kind of that's the exciting part of what we get to do every day. I can't imagine not doing this.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly.
What was the question?
No, man, you're so right, and I know we can go down that path so deep, but you're right. You can't disentangle the soul of the human because it is deep.
Who would want to?
And who would want to?
Yeah.
Right? Psychopaths. That's
Psychopaths. I guess. Yeah, psychopaths.
Yes, psychopaths.
All right, that's a good point. Yeah.
But yeah, I think, and that's the most rewarding piece is these people are bringing their whole vulnerable self into the issue that they're seeking help with, and you get to unpack that and experience it, and that is what.
But like the lost leader that somebody comes in with isn't like, hey, I'm not sure I'm worthy of being out of this back pain. I've been having back pain for 20 years. I'm not sure. My personality is tied into it. I'm the mom with
there's like an identity connection to the crux.
Yeah,
Isn't that wild?
Certainly. I was in a state of arrested development when I broke my back the first time. It shifted? I was playing professional rugby, and I was on scholarship, and I couldn't stop playing. So I had to just, instead of enjoying my job, I had to just do the job, and I had to get through it. And that rattled me to my core. And I had a couple of really good athletic trainers who were working with me. And they missed the break the first time in the MRI, so it just didn't come up, which was not good. It was pretty obvious. I never want somebody to go through that. I never want somebody to feel alone in that, because even the trainers at a certain point were like, how much of this is in your head? And I was like, I appreciate the question, and they were holding me accountable, but it felt like I was alone in that moment. And I'm never going to do that to somebody.
That's powerful in the profession. Like you've actually experienced the pain that you're working with people to treat. And
I don't trust a skinny chef. I don't trust
I don't trust a skinny chef.
And if your chiropractor doesn't blow 2 discs out, come on. What's he talking about here?
Yeah, I think it's challenging to get to that level of empathy and compassion without understanding the pain.
I think one of the reasons you and I have gotten along so well for, since the Obama administration, I think, it's been a while.
So many years.
That's so many years. I think we're both endlessly hopeful. Not naive or I did come off as kind of maybe ditzy or something, where it was like, well, what's the worst that could happen? But I choose endlessly hopeful, and that permeates down, hopefully, to the people that trust me with their broken back. I mean, nothing could be more intrinsically you. Bending the frame of your car that's a total. If you've got a Porsche and you bend the frame, it's gone.
Yeah.
You break your back, that's it. There's no spine replacements coming. You have to find a way to fix that. And people trust me with their neck, and they trust me with their kids and their mom and their feet and their viability. How could I ever take somebody who's in a miserable pain state and think and play defense against that, I'm going to be hopeful. And we're going to chase my feet a little bit. Here's a stupid fact about me. I used to ride a unicycle, like a lot.
Can we get a photo? Nick,
Yeah,
Nick, get that video in. Add that in.
Just any clown would do it. Stock photo of a clown. And me, I was homeschooled. Obviously, makes sense. If for the viewers at home, they're like, yes,
that's on
surprised you didn't talk about Lord of the Rings yet. We're getting to it. But I have a bunch of cousins who were homeschooled, and we all rode unicycles. And the learning how to ride a unicycle is far harder than riding a unicycle. It's that like you have to lean forward. If you're straight up, then you don't trust your legs and you just pedal a little bit. If you lean forward, you have to pedal your feet. And that very stupid analogy, which is highly specialized and no one else really gets it, is it's how I treat relationships. If somebody comes in and they're in pain, that's not the best version of them. I'm the doctor. I have to be able to draw them out. And the fact that they showed up. And I'm sure there's people here who fight against you all the time, who are like, not intentionally. They showed up with their feet, with their dollars, with their enthusiasm, but they're going to drag their feet a little bit and go like, oh God, squats again. And it's an honor that they complain to people like us because it means they're in. They trust us. Yeah. And you can never betray that trust with being anything but on and hopeful and emblematic of that. You can see around the corner because you've been there before, and I've been there with my back, and you've been there with your back, and you've been there with your fitness journeys and everything. You know that you can bring that experience to cultivate a better version of them, and you just have to be one step ahead of them and hopeful. It's not hard.
Endlessly hopeful.
Endlessly hopeful.
I love that.
You don't. It's not negotiable.
Dude.
Yeah.
To pick it back up, I think it's a great place to kind of wrap this up. Is that endless? You took it from tactical to the why, which I think that's what people.
I'm just plagiarizing Simon Sinek. So
that's it. Dude. That's it. Right, there you go. That's what matters to people now. And in this, and we talked about this off script, but we talked about this authenticity that is being so craved right now in the content, the messaging we consume, and our relationships. And I think that's what matters. That's what makes you and I very sought after.
I think so.
So I'll leave it with you, or I'll leave you with this question to answer.
You want me to leave?
Don't leave yet. Answer this first. People that are watching and listening, most likely they're in some kind of pain, and they're trying to move forward with their health. That person sitting right there, what would you say to them to help propel them into the right direction?
Man, that there is solutions out there. There is hope, and there's so much that you can do to tweak the abominable human spirit. Edit that. The strong will in the human spirit to be able to keep turning over stones. I got a buddy who's a construction worker. He's in construction management at O'Neill out here. And when he first started 20 years ago, he didn't know what levers to pull. He really didn't. And there's been guys there that worked for years and years. And he said, but I fundamentally believe that there are guys that have been doing it for long enough that they know which stone to turn over to find the answer, and I will just keep turning stones over until I find the answer. And I've been in practice for 11 years now, and I am endlessly fascinated with what you can squeeze out of people if they give you the time and the trust to just keep flipping over stones and go like, okay, that didn't work for your ankle, let's try this. That didn't work for your hip, let's try this. You have this thing that's been going on for a long time that's sitting at 40%. If we work really hard for a long time, we're going to get you back on the golf course. How bad do you want it? It's not my goals, it's yours. And there is so much, 73 trillion cells in the human body, and you can manipulate the function of a lot of those simply by putting in more effort in a directed, educated approach. I've never been let down by the human body, and I'm really interested in seeing what people's capabilities are if you get buy-in and trust.
Well said, dude. And that's our show for today. Thank you so much for sticking around, watching, learning. If you extracted some value, please share this with your friends and family. You can also click the subscribe link. I believe if you're on the Spotifys and Apples and you're listening to this, there's a subscribe link at the bottom of the episode. If you're watching on YouTube, bottom right of this video, you can click subscribe to stay up to date on the latest episodes. Thank you again for joining us on this episode. And with that being said, be well, stay connected, and take care of your health.